Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't subscribe, the channel, kindly subscribe and press the bell icon. Let's start our video. What if a single moment, just one brief encounter, had the power to change a life forever? This is the incredible true story of how a world-famous athlete and a homeless man crossed paths on a quiet night in Chicago, never realizing that fate had something extraordinary in store. It all started with a simple call from the shadows, a raspy voice recognizing a familiar face. What happened next would prove that even the smallest act of kindness can spark a transformation beyond imagination. Stay with me until the end, because this story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. What if a simple encounter with a celebrity changed someone's life forever? This is the incredible true story of how Lionel Messi transformed a homeless man's fate with just $50, and much more. It all started on a quiet evening in Chicago when Messi, in town for an ad shoot, took a casual stroll through the streets. That's when he heard a raspy voice call out from the shadows. A homeless man named Daniel Reed recognized him and in that moment had no idea that his life was about to change forever. What began as a small act of kindness quickly turned into something far greater, something that would completely turn Daniel's life around. Stay with me until the end, because this story proves that even the smallest gesture can spark a life-changing transformation. Lionel Messi had arrived in Chicago for a high-profile advertisement shoot, but after a long day of work, he decided to take a quiet stroll through the streets with a small entourage. Dressed casually and driving an unremarkable car, he blended in just enough to avoid attracting too much attention. The evening air was crisp, and the neighborhood was peaceful, far from the bustling crowds that would normally surround a global superstar like him. As he turned a corner, a raspy voice called out from the shadows. "Messi? Messi, is that you?" Startled, he stopped and looked toward the source of the voice. Sitting on the sidewalk against a worn brick wall was a frail-looking man. His face was weathered from years of hardship, and beside him lay a small pile of belongings with a faded sign that simply read, "Homeless. Please help." His name was Daniel Reed, a man who had once lived a normal life but had fallen on hard times. He had lost everything during the pandemic: his job, his home, and eventually, hope. But on this night, fate had brought him face to face with the one person who would change his life forever. Daniel couldn't believe his eyes. Sitting on the cold pavement, he had seen thousands of people pass by without so much as a glance. But this time was different. His tired eyes widened as he recognized the figure walking past him. Summoning what little energy he had left, he called out, his voice rough from exhaustion. "Messi? Messi, is that you?" Messi stopped in his tracks. He turned toward the man, his expression softening as he took in the sight before him. Instead of walking away, he stepped closer. "Yes, I'm Messi," he said gently. "What's your name?" Daniel's lips trembled as he smiled in disbelief. "Daniel Reed. I've watched you play for years. Never thought I'd see you in real life." Messi crouched down to meet Daniel at eye level. "It's nice to meet you, Daniel," he said. "What happened? How did you end up here?" Daniel lowered his gaze, staring at the worn concrete beneath him. "Life happened," he muttered. "I had a good job, warehouse supervisor. Then the pandemic hit. I lost my job, and without an income, I lost my home too. I tried to get back on my feet, but things just kept getting worse. I've been out here for 2 years now." Messi listened intently, nodding occasionally, his heart heavy with the weight of Daniel's words. Here was a man who once had stability, now reduced to sleeping on the streets. And in that moment, Messi knew he couldn't just walk away. Messi reached into his pocket and pulled out a crisp $50 bill. Without hesitation, he held it out to Daniel. "Here, take this," he said with a warm smile. "I hope it helps. even just a little. Daniel stared at the bill for a moment before reaching out with both hands to take it. His fingers trembled slightly as he clutched the money, a flicker of gratitude crossing his face. "Thank you, sir. This means a lot to me," he said, forcing a smile. But deep inside, a different emotion stirred. He was grateful, of course. $50 was more than most people gave him. But for a brief moment, a quiet hope had flickered in his heart. When Messi had stopped to talk, when he had crouched down and listened, Daniel had felt something different, seen something in Messi's eyes that wasn't just pity, but true compassion. And for just a second, he had allowed himself to dream that this moment could be something more than just another passing interaction. He quickly pushed the thought away. He knew better than to expect miracles. A small kindness was still a kindness, and he wouldn't take it for granted. With a deep breath, he looked back at Messi and smiled again, this time with genuine appreciation. But as he tucked the bill into his pocket, he couldn't help but wonder, was this the end of their encounter, or was fate about to surprise him once again? Messi stood up, giving Daniel one last nod before turning to walk away. Daniel watched him go, clutching the $50 bill tightly, telling himself not to be disappointed. It was more than most gave him, and he was grateful. Still, a part of him felt an unexpected emptiness. He let out a quiet sigh, preparing for another long, cold night. But then, something unexpected happened. Messi stopped a few steps away, turned to his assistant, and whispered something. The assistant nodded and quickly retrieved a small suitcase. A moment later, Messi walked back toward Daniel. Daniel looked up, confused. "What's going on?" he asked. Messi crouched down again, his expression serious yet kind. "Daniel," he said, "if you had the chance to start over, what would you do?" Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't expected that question. He took a moment, thinking carefully before speaking. "I'd work," he said firmly. "Anything, really. I used to be a warehouse supervisor. I'd save up, get a place to stay, and maybe, one day, help others who've been through what I have." Messi nodded thoughtfully, as if confirming something in his mind. Then, to Daniel's astonishment, he pulled out a checkbook, clicked a pen, and started writing. Daniel's heart pounded as he watched, unable to process what was happening. Seconds later, Messi tore the check from the book and handed it to him. Daniel hesitated, his hands shaking as he took it. His eyes widened as he saw the amount. 100,000. His breath hitched. "Is this real?" he stammered. Messi smiled. "It's real," he assured him. "But there's more. I'm going to connect you with someone who can help you find a job. And once you're back on your feet, I'll make sure you have a proper place to stay. You deserve a second chance, Daniel." Tears welled in Daniel's eyes as he clutched the check, his mind spinning. Just minutes ago, he had felt forgotten by the world. Now, a single act of kindness had given him hope again. 3 months had passed, and Daniel's life was almost unrecognizable. The cold pavement he once slept on had been replaced by the warmth of a modest but comfortable home, fully paid for, thanks to Messi. The small space wasn't extravagant, but it was his. A safe haven where he could rest without fear, without hunger, without the weight of hopelessness pressing down on him. Each morning, Daniel woke up early, put on his work uniform, and headed to his new job as a warehouse supervisor. The same role he once held before life took a turn for the worse. Thanks to Messi's connections, he had been given the opportunity to prove himself again. And he did. He worked tirelessly, showing the same dedication he had before, only this time with a deeper appreciation for every task, every paycheck, and every chance to rebuild. One evening, as he sat at his small dining table, Daniel glanced at a neatly framed job offer letter hanging on the wall, a reminder of how far he had come. He ran his fingers over the wooden edge, still in awe of the journey that had brought him here. Messi hadn't just given him money. He had given him a second chance, a future, and most importantly, dignity. And Daniel knew one thing for sure: he would never take it for granted. One afternoon, as Daniel sorted through his mail, an envelope caught his eye. It had no return address, just his name written neatly on the front. Curious, he opened it and pulled out a simple note. His breath caught as he read the familiar signature at the bottom. "Proud of you, Daniel. Keep going. Lionel." A wave of emotion washed over him. Messi hadn't forgotten him. That note became more than just words on paper. It became a reminder of his promise. Inspired by Messi's kindness, Daniel started volunteering at a local shelter, sharing his story with others who had lost hope. He listened, just as Messi had listened to him. He helped, just as Messi had helped him. And little by little, he realized that kindness wasn't just about giving. It was about changing lives, just as his had been changed. Because in the end, it wasn't just $50 or even $100,000 that transformed Daniel's life. It was a moment of compassion, a belief that he was worth saving. And that small act of kindness? It had started a ripple effect, one that would continue far beyond what Messi or Daniel could have ever imagined. Daniel's story is a powerful reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life. What started with just $50 turned into something far greater: hope, redemption, and a second chance. And it all happened because one person chose to care. Imagine what the world would look like if we all did the same. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Let's spread positivity and remind others that kindness, no matter how small, can make a difference. Who knows? Your kindness could change someone's life too.